Attention, budget-conscious carnivores! Aldi has you covered with its bountiful meat selection, but there are certain unhealthy and untasty options that you better avoid. Although Aldi's regular chicken breasts are reasonably priced, they're not the best when it comes to taste or quality. They might be okay enough to feed a crowd in a pinch if they're sufficiently masked with other ingredients in certain dishes, but they're not ideal for serving on their own as a main course. Simply put, they're chewy and insufficiently moist no matter how you cook them. It's also hard to ignore the problems with conventionally raised chicken products. Researchers are continuing to question the effects of antibiotic use on chickens and the health effects they have on people who eat poultry. Even if you're not terribly concerned about that issue, there are other benefits to choosing more naturally raised chicken products, including higher levels of important nutrients like omega fatty acids. As far as meat options go, hot dogs are certainly one of the cheapest, especially at Aldi, but they come at the price of what's inside. While research is still learning more about processed meat and its impact on our health, there is clearly a correlation between the regular intake of processed meats and health problems like cancer and heart disease. Many brands have stepped up to create hot dogs that are more natural without nitrates and other questionable ingredients. But alas, Aldi falls short in this category, as its selection is rather limited to conventional brands that are a mixture of mechanically separated chicken and pork. Depending on which Aldi location you visit, there are occasionally organic uncured beef hot dogs, but the availability is hit or miss. Plus, there's not a ton of versatility when it comes to the types of meals you can make with hot dogs. There is some debate about whether or not pork is a healthy protein option, but in the grand scheme of meat consumption, it's actually a great choice. It's high in nutrients like B vitamins and iron, and can also be beneficial for muscle health. However, Aldi's pork chops are a little less than ideal.
You done messed up, Aaron!
The chain offers many different types of cuts of pork chops, but none are super flavorful, and they also tend to be dry, making them chewy and difficult to cut through. Plus, it can be confusing to determine the level of quality based on the labels alone. They mention that they're a product of the USA, but they don't state anything about them being all natural or free from things like preservatives, antibiotics, added hormones, or other factors. Offered in a number of varieties including Italian, bratwurst, and maple breakfast links, Aldi's sausage selection might look wholesome at first glance, but what's really inside each one remains questionable. Labeled as a premium cut of pork, it's a mystery as to what that statement actually means. We can probably deduce that the pork that Aldi uses is from conventionally raised animals based on the lack of mention otherwise. Pigs in this situation are typically given antibiotics and are fed low-quality diets, which ultimately results in fewer nutrients and less flavor. Not only are these sausages on the bland side, but there are also a plethora of fillers and other ingredients that generate more questions than answers. For example, it states right on the label that the sausage contains BHA and propyl gallite, which are two synthetic antioxidant chemicals used to preserve and protect flavor. Every variety of Aldi bacon leaves way too much to be desired. Whether you buy the never-any all-natural offering or the regular option that claims to be thick-cut, each one is so thin that it might make you wonder if you're eating bacon-flavored paper rather than actual bacon. In fact, just getting the strips out of the package and separated onto a skillet without any of them falling apart is a challenge. If that's not reason enough to buy your bacon somewhere else, then consider the nutritional value or lack thereof. No matter what kind you get, bacon is still highly processed. Even if you choose to splurge on the never-any variety, which is free from preservatives like nitrates and sulfates. Plus, bacon is one of the more cholesterol and sodium-heavy protein choices, with very little healthy fats or protein to make up for it.
No, I want my bacon. I gotta tell you something. Bacon is good for me.
You can tell pretty quickly after your first bite that all of Aldi's deli meat is prepackaged and not sliced fresh on site. Prepackaged deli meat already has the tendency to be on the thin side, and Aldi's varieties are no exception. If you're someone who has trouble with texture, it's undoubtedly best to steer clear, since a lot of the chain's deli meat gets slimy after sitting inside a plastic package with water for an extended period of time. Between the average taste and the highly processed quality, there's little about Aldi's deli meat that's worth recommending other than the fact that it's convenient. Every once in a while, your local store might have organic deli meat in stock, but the choices are rather limited, and they usually sell out soon after hitting the shelves. Turkey is known for being super dry, which is why brining and basting is such a vital process to any Thanksgiving preparation. But it's not just a whole turkey that you have to worry about cooking correctly. All forms of this bird, including ground turkey, tend to be on the dry side. Aldi's ground turkey deserves credit for being all natural, but it's not enough to justify a purchase. Sure, the price tag is lower than its fresh counterparts, but it's not worth the savings and convenience when all you have to look forward to is something that lacks flavor and moisture, no matter how you cook it.
You guys, I see one. I see a turkey. Shoot it. Shoot it.
Now that we've gotten the Aldi meats that are a no-go out of the way, let's move on to some that are actually worth buying. Ground beef is extremely versatile and can be used to make a variety of tasty meals. While many people opt for conventional ground beef over grass-fed to maintain their budgets, you thankfully don't have to make that compromise at Aldi. And that's great news, considering that grass-fed beef has been shown to be higher in certain nutrients than regular beef. When it comes to grass-fed ground beef at Aldi, you have two choices: 85% lean and 15% fat, or 93% lean and 7% fat. Overall, both options are generally cheaper than grass-fed options at other stores. It's also worth noting that the 85% lean option is the cheaper of the two, so it's worth it if you can stomach the extra fat. Also, keep in mind that more fat equals more flavor, so you'll be saving money on a better tasting pound of beef. If you want to make the most out of your dollar, Aldi's organic whole chicken is a winner for its flavor, quality, and versatility. By using all parts of the bird from start to finish, you'll be able to make multiple meals out of just one purchase. You can roast the chicken for dinner, and then there will be plenty of leftovers to make sandwiches, soups, or whatever else suits your taste buds. Once all the meat has been eaten, you can use the bones to make some homemade, nutrient-dense bone broth for sipping, or to use as the base for soups. This is also a gut-healthy option, and plenty of research has touted the importance of a healthy gut for overall well-being.
You got to take things really slow when it comes to your bowels.
Seafood is notoriously one of the pricier protein options in the grocery store, and if you opt for the wild-caught variety, you can usually expect to pay top dollar. However, Aldi's tuna steaks come at a shockingly reasonable price, likely due to the fact that they arrive frozen, which cuts down on shipping costs, and those savings are passed on to shoppers. Each package contains approximately 3 to 4 steaks that are perfect for a single meal for two, or multiple meals for an individual. These steaks also defrost quickly, so you can keep them on hand as a last-minute healthy option. Most importantly, this seafood meets all of the qualifications that a high-quality tuna steak should. And like the overpoweringly fishy taste that can be synonymous with cheap tuna, Aldi's tuna steaks taste light and fresh. They also have a deep pink to red color without any brown spots or discoloration, which is a sure sign that this fish has been handled properly. Since Aldi's grass-fed steak comes in a pack of 2, you can feed 2 people for the same price as one grass-fed steak at other grocery stores. So instead of dropping money on a dinner out, you can have a date night in without blowing your budget. Aldi sometimes has a few different options for cuts, but the New York strip is what's regularly kept in stock. The chain steaks are also 100% grass-fed and grass-finished, which is important to note since not every grass-fed product is also grass-finished. The reality is that some producers still end up feeding grass-fed cows artificial diets of grain and soy towards the end of their lives to try to fatten them up and give their end product a boost. That's why it's essential to understand what certain terms mean on your labels if you care to know. And thankfully, for those who do care, Aldi ensures that its grass-fed beef is truly grass-fed from start to finish. Aldi's organic chicken breasts are comparable in price to most other grocery stores. But unlike their lower quality counterparts, these organic breasts have a great taste and texture that's not chewy or stringy. Even better news is that they come from free-range chickens that have outdoor access and are raised humanely. Most packages even have a farm code on the back of the package, allowing you to look up exactly where your chicken came from. Now that's farm to table.
They do a lot to make sure that their chickens are very happy.
After you buy them, just throw these chicken breasts in a slow cooker to cook, shred, and use throughout the week as the protein of choice in various recipes. Any sort of meat that can be easily added to different dishes can be a game changer for your budget, as adaptability translates into savings. The frozen aisle is probably not the first place you'd think to look for high-quality seafood, but Aldi might change your mind about that. Simply put, the frozen wild-caught salmon fillets are not to be missed. It's a common myth that fresh seafood is always better than frozen, but in reality, the latter can sometimes be better since it's frozen right away at peak freshness, especially if it's vacuum sealed like each one of the fillets in this Aldi package. Another benefit is that you can use as much or as little of the package as you'd like, which can save you money over time and help to avoid food waste. But how does the salmon stack up in terms of flavor? Without any of the strong fishy taste or pungent smell, these fillets hold their own among the best of them. And if you're looking for the most nutritional value for your money, salmon is known to be high in omega fats that are necessary for optimal brain and hormone health. Aldi's Never Any chicken thighs are comparably priced to similar options at other grocery stores. And unlike some poultry thighs that still have the bone inside, these are deboned, so you get even more meat for your money per pound. Plus, they're not overly fatty, so you don't have to spend any extra time and effort prepping the meat and trimming away fat before cooking. Instead, they have just the right flavor ratio of fat to protein. Since chicken thighs naturally have more fat than other cuts like breasts, they're more flavorful and moist. Now, perhaps you're concerned about the fact that Aldi's chicken thighs aren't free-range like their organic counterparts, but fortunately, they are still free of antibiotics and added hormones.